Hello and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Marte. I come from Norway and I love makeup. And today I want to welcome you to a new series here on my channel called Scents and Shadows, where makeup meets fragrance. In each episode, I'll be creating a custom eyeshadow palette inspired by the notes of a particular fragrance, giving you swatches and a unique and harmonious makeup look. Today I created this beautiful palette here, which looks perfect for spring and summer, and it is inspired by this beautiful fragrance called Hareem al Sultan by the perfumery called Khadlaj, I think is how you pronounce it. And I did make this glam look using the eyeshadow palette, and I will show you that, but first I want to break down the notes of this fragrance and have a closer look at the eyeshadow palette with some swatches. Now here is a closer look at the perfume bottle, which is extremely beautiful, and I will put the notes on the side so you can also see what kind of notes this perfume has. And I would call this a fruity floral fragrance, and it's very feminine. It has top notes of jasmine, bergamot and peony, while the middle notes are pineapple, peach and plum, so super fruity and fresh. Whereas the base notes are musk, sandalwood and patchouli, which makes for a really interesting and complex fragrance, which is just super addictive to me. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's a super unique fragrance, but it's definitely a very easy to reach for fragrance, and it gets a lot of compliments. I almost always get compliments when I wear this, and I just think it's such a beautiful fragrance. And this did originally come as a perfume oil, but personally I do prefer a spray, so I got the spray bottle, and it's quite cheap, but it depends a little bit on availability and where you're from, how much it costs. I know that the perfume oil is around $30 US, but this bottle was a bit more expensive, especially since I'm in Norway, so I think I paid around maybe $60 US, 60, 70 or $80, I'm not sure, but I didn't find it to be very expensive. Then we have the eyeshadow palette that I created to match the perfume, and I love it so much. I'm just gonna hold the bottle next to the palette because mostly I want to base the eyeshadow palettes off of the notes of the perfume, but I do want to also look at a little bit at the bottle and see if I can make something that fits. And I definitely think that the bottle fits the palette, but of course also the notes. So let's take a bit of a closer look at the shadows and what notes I was thinking about when I chose these single shadows. So for the florals, we of course have peony, which is represented by this almost lilac looking pink shade. The jasmine I feel like is mostly in these more neutral shadows. Jasmine is a white flower, but then it has of course the green leaves, so I do have some green shifts in a few of these shades. Particularly this one and this one have some very beautiful shifts, and I will make sure to leave all the names of the single shadows up on the screen afterwards when I do the swatches. And we do also have the note bergamot and patchouli, which is kind of represented in the flashes of green in these sparkly shadows. As for the more neutral shades, I feel like they just fit so good with the sandalwood and of course just the classic feel of the fragrance as a whole. And we do have some more purpley colors and the deep red ones and the yellows, and all of those are based on pineapple, peach and plum. So these are definitely the more peachy colors. These are more pineapple, and plum is mostly this one. I think it's even called sugar plum. So I feel like those are very well represented here. And for musk, I feel like it's also just this neutral kind of sparkly and of course this matte shade here. So that's kind of just my thoughts on creating this palette based on the notes. And of course these reds are not just for the peach, but also inspired by the beautiful red details on the glass bottle. But now I want to do some swatches, so I will just put on some music and I'll show all the names of the shadows on the screen as I do the swatches. Here we have the entire palette swatched out, and I kind of split it so that you can see it's a little bit half neutral, half colorful. And I personally really like the color story. Of course I did make it myself, but I just love how fresh and yet neutral glam it is, and it just has those beautiful pops of color. As usual, I'm turning down the light a little bit and lighting with my flashlight from the side so that you can see all the gorgeous, gorgeous sparkles and shifts. Clearly the first shadow, Yellow Sapphire from Glam Shop, is so sparkly and foiled at the same time. And then the next shadow right here, the one from Clionadh, which I mixed myself using a mix of at least Volt, and I don't really remember all of them, but I'll leave it down below in my description box if you're interested in seeing what kind of shades I mixed together. It's just very neutral, but still like with a little bit of extra pizzazz to it. And then of course the matte neutrals are just the perfect ones for me to create a smoky yet neutral look, and it's one of my favorite gold shadows right here, Stacks from Looxi Beauty, and one of my favorite, what do you even call this? It's like a golden yellow matte, and I just love it. It's called Brudny Zolty from Glam Shop. And then we have two more purple shadows from Klarity. I haven't used them yet, so I don't know what more to say about them, but they do look stunning. And then this one, Goblet from Clionadh. Oh, the shifts are so beautiful. The green that you can see on one of the sides here is just very, very reflective and vibrant. And then we have the warmer shadows at last there, and the marbled shade, which is this beautiful, beautiful shimmery sparkly shadow from Glam Shop, is just so stunning. So you definitely have a lot of variation in this palette, and I just think it fits the fragrance so well because I find the fragrance to be super fun, fruity, and still very classy and elegant and girly. So I think that this eyeshadow palette matches that description quite well. So I hope that you liked the swatches and the look of this eyeshadow palette, and now I'm going to show you the look that I created using several of these shadows. For the look that I'm going to create using this palette, I want to use a little bit of the red just to represent the ball of the perfume. So I think I'll go ahead and use the neutral mattes. I will use this one, and I think I'll blend it out with this warmer peachy shade, and then towards the inner corner I'll use a bit more of this more cooler toned matte neutral. And for the lid, this red, and I'm considering using a little bit of this gold and then maybe a little bit of this one to make it a bit more neutral towards the inner corner, but I'm not sure. I might end up using this too. That is my plan going ahead, so I'll just start off with Leatherbound by Clionadh. I'm just going to apply this shade with my Glam Shop 005 brush, and I'll just make sure I'll add it to the outer V right here. I do want it to be a very glam look, and I want some depth, but not make it, I don't want to make it like too dramatic. But I think it's nice to have this deep shade as like the base shade where I'm going to apply the red shimmer. And now I'm just whisking that shade a bit out here in the outer corner, and I will of course go over with the more peachy matte, which is a bit lighter, to make sure I get a nice transition shade. Now I'm taking my Glam Shop 026 brush and I'm applying Gourd from Clionadh, and I'm just applying that over top of Leatherbound here, just to make sure that I get an opaque but nice transition, and this will give the look quite a bit of warmth. Now I do get quite a bit of fallout, but that's just fine. I'm taking it also just underneath here. I should have probably switched to a smaller brush, but I'm just blending out the edges here in the bottom too. Now I'm using my WG2 brush, and I'm taking the shade Applebutter, I think it's called, from Dandelion's Cosmetics. And this one I'll apply here, just next to the other shades that I've used. And I'm not sure how far towards the inner corner I want to go with it, because I do want it to be quite bright in the inner corner. These are blending together so nicely though. And I'll just use it on the lid too to make sure I matte down the primer that I've used. So I'm ready to do the shimmer on the lid, and I'm going to apply just a little bit of glitter glue. This is the Pixie Epoxy from Raine Cosmetics. But I'm gonna do this one just in the outer corner, as I said, and I'll apply this one, which is Yellow Sapphire by Glam Shop, and then I will just pat a little bit of this gold on the middle of the lid just to get a little bit more of that golden glam that fits the bottle and also the more fruity notes in the perfume. I'm just starting with Yellow Sapphire because it's the lighter one of the shades. So I'll just apply it here and then just gently blend it upwards. Then I'm just swirling my brush into the red shimmer. And I'll apply that here in the outer corner. And I do really like to use finger application with these shades because they are a bit more flaky. So I'm just taking my finger and the tiniest bit of that red shade, because you do want to be careful with this particular formula from Glam Shop, and just little by little adding a little bit onto that color. And it does have a bit of gold in it, so it really fits the other colors. Just like that. And then I'm gonna take a different finger with that golden shade. Oh, it is so pigmented. And I feel like that was a bit too much, so I'm just blending it with that other finger. And I guess I'll take a little bit of that lightest shade on my little finger so that I can blend it on the inner corner too. And this is definitely very glam. I'm absolutely loving how my lids are looking with these shimmers. They're just so beautiful. But I'm going to do the neutral matte for the lower lash line, and possibly I'll add this little mixture that I made of some Clionadh shadows. I'll just write them all down below, but I did just mix them together and press this shadow. But as you can see, I still have some of that Leatherbound on this brush, so I will just add that towards the very inner part of the lower lash line so that I get the deepest part right here. And then I'll just make sure I blend with the more taupe matte towards the inner corner and downwards. Now I'm just taking a tiny brush and I'm just applying that shade that I mentioned right here. It has some green, it has some pink, just a lot of different colors, and I'm just adding it towards the inner part right here. And I think that's it for the makeup look, so I'll just finish off the rest of my makeup and show you the close-up. But I will first show you the close-up of the other look that I created a few weeks ago actually, so I'll show you that first, and then I'll show you how this look turned out with the rest of the makeup. That was the finished look, or the two finished looks that I have created with this palette, and I think it's such a beautiful and fun palette. I think it fits the perfume perfectly. It's just such a juicy, fruity, floral, beautiful scent. It's very elegant yet a quite playful perfume in my opinion. And I definitely think that most people, especially if you do like sweet, fruity, girly scents, you will like this perfume. As usual, I will leave all the details of the makeup that I used in this look down in the description box. Other than that, I really hope that you enjoyed this kind of video because it is a new series on my channel and I would love to incorporate more fragrance into my channel. And I just figured that this idea of making custom eyeshadow palettes, I think it was actually one of my subscribers that commented it. So thank you so much for that suggestion. It has been so fun to make this palette and this video. So do leave me some feedback on it down below if you like this kind of video. I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye!